Hello. You have probably stumbled here from my Substack, but if you don't and you have no idea who I am, my name is Anna and I am a startup advisor, I'm a mentor, I'm a writer, and over the last 7-ish years, almost 7 years of working for myself, I have built out a portfolio of different products, services, offers, projects and income streams. And today I wanted to share a little bit of my backstory for those that are completely new to the portfolio career space, because I think hearing my story will help you think about how you can apply this structure to your own career. And I also wanted to share a little bit about what I plan on doing moving forward, my mission, the need that I think the portfolio career structure and the content that I create and the products that I create and the programs that I run, the need that is actually serving at the moment, given the state of the world and where we are. Okay, so a little bit of backstory. Hopefully I'll keep this relatively short and sweet, but I basically spent my entire 20s working for other people. I was part of the team that launched Uniqlo into Australia. I worked for Australia's biggest beauty retailer, Mecca, in strategy and in project management. And while I was working at Mecca, I started a side hustle, a podcast. And that podcast managed to get traction really, really quickly to the point where I quit my job in 2019 to pursue it full time with a couple of friends. 6 months later, COVID happened. And that impacted the podcast pretty significantly. So it was a really challenging place to be. And I started to feel during COVID, like a lot of people did, this sense of like not being in the right place. I felt that podcast wasn't what I was meant to be doing. I felt incredibly drained, pouring all of my time, energy, effort, love, money into one pursuit. I've always been a generalist. I've always been really curious. I've always loved learning. And I just felt like I wanted to do many things, to be totally honest with you. I didn't want to just pursue one thing. I didn't want to build one podcast, one brand. I wanted to do lots of different things. I really wanted to get back into beauty. I really wanted to get experience working in tech. I wanted to write. And so I made the really, really, really difficult decision in probably 2022 to walk away from that podcast and that business. And I had no plan for what I wanted to do next. I thought that I would go and get a job, to be honest, because I was really looking for financial stability and security after some pretty tricky years. And I started interviewing. I really wanted a job in venture capital. I started interviewing at a bunch of investment firms. My dream role at Blackbird came up. I, had started the application. I pretty much got to a point where I was about to submit the application, but during the time that I was interviewing at places, I was also really putting my feelers out and networking with a lot of people. I was very lucky that through my podcast, which was interviewing founders, that I had a very, very well established network in the startup space. I had pretty much no personal brand to speak of from a following or audience or community perspective, but I did know a lot of people. And so I decided to network with a lot of those people while I was figuring out what my next move was. And through that process of networking, I landed 1, then 2, then 3, then 4 pieces of work. And I found myself at this crossroads to go, do I want to continue down the interview path with some of these VC firms that I was talking to and interviewing for and getting pretty far down the line for? Or do I want to say yes to all of these consulting projects and these long-term contracts with these really cool startups? One was in beauty, one was in tech, one was in a different e-com space, one was a startup community. Do I want to take on these sort of bitsy pieces of work and kind of cobble together this sort of portfolio of work? Or do I want to pursue the full-time path? And I went, absolutely, my gut was telling me to do all the things, even though my head was like, go into, venture capital or get a good job or whatever it might be. And so I said no to all of the interviews and paused that process. I didn't end up applying for the Blackbird role that was literally the dream role that I would have wanted for myself. And I said yes to all of the contracts. And as I said yes, and I started to sort of get into the flow of these contracts and earn the income, I sort of had to do a double take because I was earning way more than I would have been earning in a full-time role and almost double than what that sort of dream Blackbird role was advertised for. Not that it was all about money, but that was a big factor for me at that time because I had spent a number of years, running the first business and it was quite financially tricky at times. So money was an incentive for me at that time, but it wasn't the only thing. But I was like, how do people not know this? How do people not know that there are these options available to you where you can kind of earn far more than you would otherwise, work across a portfolio of different things? For me, I had structured my work so that it was mostly remote, and I was mostly in control of my calendar. So I sort of had hit all of the key things that I wanted to get out of my next phase of my career. I had hit earning potential and money. I had hit flexibility and freedom over my calendar. I had hit working with good people and learning new things, particularly in the role that I was in, or the contracting role I was in the tech startup, which was an American tech startup. So I basically hit all of the things. The only thing that I didn't sort of have was the status associated with like a fancy job title or whatever. But that wasn't actually that important to me. It certainly was on my mind, but it was less important to me than the other things. And so I started pursuing this portfolio path. I then started writing on Substack, not necessarily about portfolio careers, but just because I felt again this intuition within me that I wanted to write. I began writing, I was slogging away on Substack, wasn't really generating much traction other than my mum and my boyfriend liking every single post. And 8 months into that journey, I started writing about portfolio careers, and that's really where my community and my, I guess, audience, for lack of a better word, started to grow. It started to grow on Substack, it started to grow on LinkedIn, and I sort of started to become known for portfolio careers. Ever since that was 2024, mid-2024, I have been writing about portfolio careers. I've been offering mentoring in this space. I have built digital products in this space. I am building a cohort and community in this space. I'm obsessed with this space. I've connected with pretty much every other person in the world who's talking about portfolio careers, which by the way is not many. And as I've been sort of narrating my own journey and hearing and supporting others in this space, and keeping a very clear eye on what's been happening in the market and in culture and in society around future of work and careers, I have started to get incredibly clear about my personal mission and what impact I want to have. This is a very, very organic way that this has all come about, because I really just started sharing online things that I thought would be valuable. That has spun into this community centered around portfolio careers, which has spun into a product and service offering that I now make majority of my income through. But the thing that I've been missing up until this point, and the thing that has crystallized for me in the last few months, is a real mission. Like, why am I doing this? Why do I care so much? Why do I continue writing week after week after week, for 2.5 years? Why am I wanting to build in this space? Why am I starting this YouTube channel? Like, why? Honestly, it's been a process of peeling back the onion, really getting introspective, really understanding what's happening around me, and recognizing that there is a problem to be solved. There is a need that is very timely, and this is my founder startup brain. I see myself as the right person, one of the right people to be helping solve that problem and servicing a real need, which is we need to think about how we build and structure our careers and work in a different way. I think the world is going through a very, very clear shift. Obviously, technology and AI is just changing the landscape. We have layoffs, hiring freezes happening everywhere. And there's this shift away from an old way of thinking, which is I have one job, I do really well, I climb the corporate ladder, I rely on one salary, and I will be rewarded, I will be fulfilled, and this is kind of the trajectory that my career will go. That is an outdated way of thinking, not only because of all of the technological changes that are happening around us and the fact that actually you can't necessarily rely on one income stream and one job and one career trajectory in a world that is changing literally by the minute. You can't rely on that model anymore. And actually we need to design a new way of working that's centered around diversification of your interests and income streams. The second shift that we're seeing is the great millennial career crisis, quiet quitting, the anti-work conversation, career minimalism. There is this real shift post-COVID, I think, of our collective values around the role that we want work to play in our lives. And a lot of people are looking for a new way of working that's way more aligned with their values and what they want from life and their strengths and talents and interests. People are restless, people are tired, people are exhausted. It's kind of how I felt a few years ago, to be honest, which sparked my own portfolio career journey, which is like, I don't want to work for someone else. I don't want to climb the corporate ladder, but I'm still ambitious. Like, I am not anti-work. I am not about quiet quitting. I don't think that is the right approach for individuals, and I definitely don't think that's the right approach for businesses. Like, I have a lot of friends in the founder space. I know that businesses need good people, passionate people, people that are willing to work hard in order to be successful, because most businesses fail. It's like 1 in 4 businesses don't make it past 5 years. It's competitive. And I come from the startup space, and so I understand the power of having fantastic people in your organization to really keep you alive. Not only that, businesses are the ones that provide jobs. They provide value. We need them to fuel the economy. So I am absolutely not anti-work, and I am not about quiet quitting. But I do think that there is a way for people who are highly skilled and still ambitious to redirect that ambition towards creating a work structure where they can still service other businesses or individuals, they can still do great work, they can still have amazing impact, they can be challenged, they can earn good money, but it's structured in a way that is way more aligned with their needs, their obligations, what they want from life. I also do see in this very dynamic, changing world, the value for founders and businesses to engage people in a much more agile way as opposed to full-time roles. So whether that is contractors, consultants, advisors, project-based positions, because the market needs are changing so quickly. But I also think there is a real opportunity here for businesses to change how they think about resourcing. I can see a really big need here for both businesses and individuals, for both sides of the market, to redesign the way that we work. Portfolio careers, I believe, the most strategic way to structure your career in this like new era of work. And we need to start thinking about our careers, our portfolio careers, less as climbing a ladder and more about building a web. And this is what I call the career web. It's a new way of thinking about your career that says you are the builder of your career, you have agency, you have ownership over your time and value, you are constructing your own ecosystem and your own home. And this web, this ecosystem is made up of your skills, your knowledge, your experience, your track record, your connections, your reputation, the body of work that you put into the world, your online profile, all of these different facets that make you you and showcase your value to the world. Build out your career web. So this brings me to my own personal mission. My mission, and this is what I am being unapologetic about in 2026 and beyond, is to build the world's biggest education and community-based platform for people who are rethinking their relationship to work, redesigning the way that work exists in their life, and specifically people who are looking to diversify their income streams, their interests, and carve up their value and their skills and their experiences and strengths in different ways within the portfolio career structure. And the thing that really sits underneath that is my strong belief that the entrepreneurial skill set is going to become something that is not just a nice to have, not something that is just confined to founders or startup operators or people who are sort of in innovation teams within big businesses. My belief is that the entrepreneurial skill set is going to become absolutely critical for everybody to have in order to thrive in this new world of work. Learning about how to understand your values, sniff out opportunities, find those opportunities, monetize those opportunities, position yourself in the market, build leverage, operate a one-person business, be financially literate enough to rely on variable income. All of these skills are so important for people to learn. And as somebody who has been in the startup game for a long time, I see this as being the unique kind of value that I can add to people. And so my mission is to really equip people with the entrepreneurial mindset, the thinking, the skills that they need to thrive in this type of career structure and be early adopters of this career structure, because we are still in the early adoption phase. There are not many people talking about this online, although it's growing. And it is really my mission to move individuals, society, culture towards this new way of thinking, working, and honestly living. I'm a real believer that true freedom comes from owning your time, owning your value, owning your income and impact. And that used to just be something accessible for founders and people who are willing to build multi-million-dollar businesses. That is not the case anymore. Part of the value of working for yourself independently and building a portfolio career is you do own your time. You set your boundaries around your calendar. You do own your value. You can monetize your skills in different ways. You can set your rates. You can decide what products and offers and services to build and pursue. You own your impact. You own where your energy is spent and what you want to focus on and the impact that you want to have in the world. And you own your income. Like, your income is your responsibility, which is scary, but also hugely exciting. All of the skills that you need to do successfully can be learned. Like, anything can be learned. You can learn how to sell, you can learn how to tell a story, you can learn how to manage your money, you can learn how to reach out to people, you can learn how to show up online, you can learn how to write. Everything that you need to do to be able to successful in this structure you can learn. Is it easy? No, not all the time. There are absolute trade-offs and downsides, which we can talk about in a different video, but in this video, I really wanted to kind of share where I'm at and my mission moving forward. And so there's a lot of fun, exciting things that I have planned for this year across all of my different content channels, including this YouTube, but specifically around creating an experience and a community that is really, really valuable for anyone, any skilled professional wanting to transition out of relying on one income stream and working for somebody else to a much more independent model of working. That is what I'm building. I hope that you will join me on this journey. I hope that you will subscribe to this YouTube. I hope that you'll subscribe to the Substack. This is the mission. This is the need. This is what I really feel that I'm here to do. And I just want to say thank you for being here. If you've watched to the end, if you support my work, if you're in this with me. And I really hope that we can change the way that people approach work, how work is structured, the role that work plays in our lives, the impact that we can all have. I hope we can all re-engineer that together.